things to read. And then we've also volunteered to help with several TNC programs this summer, including acting as coaches for coding camps, dungeon masters, for a D&D camp, and directors for a TikTok camp. And the library is currently hosting a display for the Soulbox project, and that's upstairs if you'd like to see it. It's a community art project designed to raise awareness on the impact of gunfire violence in America. TAB members volunteered to learn how to fold the soulboxes, which each represent a person impacted and volunteered, which each represented a person impacted. We then volunteered for 2 sessions with the public to help people fold them, and then we added the soulboxes to our display. And then we are currently working on our recruitment for new TAB members, and we will have them join in September. We have 5 spots. We have 5 spots open for the seats for the 2022 to 2023 year, and we've received 25 applications, and we will be interviewing 14 candidates live.
That's great. How wonderful. Wow. Any questions for Katie?
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. What is the TikTok project?
We had held a camp for 2 days where we had people just think of ideas for TikToks and create TikToks for the Salem Public Library's TikTok account, and you can see some of them on the page right now.
And for this these are TikTok is like videos that you put online, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're short videos.
Oh, neat. Okay. I hear that. Yeah, yeah.
Many people are.
So anybody can just put anything up. Is that kind of it?
And me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, they do. Okay, a challenge and maybe not such a good thing. So chair's report, I don't have a chair's report. One of the things I have been working on is I'm on part of the steering committee for the strategic plan, and that's mostly what I've been doing. And yeah. City librarians report, do you want to add anything to the report you wrote?
No, but I will, if anybody has any questions about the report, I'm more than happy to answer them. We have the stats for June. Our West Salem branch opened in June. I mean, the stats for, the stats for June for the month of July. So we'll have the stats for the previous month on this month's city librarian report. So for August city librarian report, this is from the month of July. I think when we get done with August, we'll present that at September. We were kind of doing it like halfway through the month. We'll just do it at a month at a time. That makes it easier for us and probably easier for people to digest that information. So for our August report, you'll have the stats for June.
All right,
I mean, July, sorry.
got it. Okay. Any other questions or comments for Kim? I was so happy to see in your report that 250K through 5 students checked out a book from the bookmobile from who were in the migrant program. So that's really neat. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
we do a lot. We do that every summer. I mean, we haven't done as much of that outreach during the pandemic, but we're starting to be able to visit schools again and use our bookmobile and get, people signed up for library cards and have them access the library books. We have a bus that we send out to places, and that's what we use for the migrant education program. We also just, we're in the process of purchasing a van too, that we just found out that we're getting. It was kind of touch and go there for a bit. We didn't know if we'd make the deadline for the ARPA grant, but we have a grant for a brand new van that we'll also use for an outreach vehicle. So we're very excited about that.
That's cool. And it says the Library of Things will open during the 50-year celebration.
Library things, we're gonna kick it off August 18th during the it'll be open that day. That's when the 50th anniversary is of the Civic Center and the library. So we'll start off with just a small collection, probably about 6 to 10 things circulating, and then we'll just keep adding to it. We're getting more things in, and as we get them cataloged and get their boxes together, then we'll put them out. It's in that first study room as you're entering the library. So some of the things we have like a metal detector. We have games for kids, like learning games. We have, we have a digital microscope. So we have a lot of different things. We're gonna have some baking pans. We're gonna have, so we'll have them like, they'll be in different categories. We'll have arts and crafts. We'll have like technology things. We'll have like gardening or outdoorsy things, that kind of stuff. So I think it'll be it's pretty exciting to just be adding that to our collection, and then it'll just keep growing. It's from a grant from DEQ, so.
Which is Department of Environmental Quality.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, so you just have your library card and you check this.
Yeah.
Thing out. So, wow.
Yeah.
Public, listen to this. This is great. All right. Thank you, Kim. Anything else? Any other questions? Friends, Carol.
We have a date for our fall book sale. It's going to be an adventure, an experiment, really exactly what to call it, but anyway, the 17th, the 20th of November. And yes, that is the weekend before Thanksgiving, so it will either be fabulous or, and we don't know that we'll be there. Hope that everybody who wants book sale will be there too.
And it will be here.
And it will be here in the Anderson rooms and in the plaza room for the specialty collection, because we will put out specialty collection out this sale, because it's the fall sale when we do it. What's this specialty collection? Most of the things that go into our book sale are things that we can't or don't want to sell in the shop. And it's a very high sort of quality control on what goes into the store, and all the other donated books, for the most part, just go into a regular book sale items. But occasionally we get books that are special in one way or another. They tend to be, well, they are individually priced. We have a book expert who goes through them and prices them, and they are also part of the books that we put online through ABD Books. Would you give us the date again, please? Sure. November 17 through 20. Thank you. And so that'll be a Thursday, partial day, afternoon, evening. Timing on that's not exactly set up yet. Friday will be all day, Saturday will be all day, meaning 10 to half an hour before closing. And then on Sunday from 12 to 4:30, we will have a bag day. As we normally do.
And say what that is.
A bag day is a day, two of our local supporters, the Rock stores and Trader Joe's, donate bags to us. So regular paper grocery bags. And when you have some bag sale, you get a bag or more if you need more. And I'll fill up a bag for right around $5.
It's great.
It's pretty exciting. People
Cram that back with as much.
it's kind of a thing. Our whole area gets a lot of work that day.
Okay. Any questions for Carol? All right, Library Foundation report, Gretchen.
First off, the board has unanimously supported Kate Benham, who is our leader. And once again, and at the moment, as well, you were talking about the pretty library. The foundation has held the artwork that is in the library. And I was very fortunate to be one of 3 people to put that artwork up back before we opened. It was wonderful. Anyway, we are now talking with SPAC, the Salem Public Art Commission, about combining the collections and having SPAC take on the foundation collection.
So this isn't municipal art, this is owned by the art that's on the wall. It's owned by
It's
the-
the art that's on the walls.
Do you think that's a good thing? I mean, is that what the foundation wants? Or,
That we're in conversation
Okay.
with SPAC. As of today, we're in conversation with SPAC.
anything else? Any questions?
We're looking forward to Salem Reads, which is
Mm-hmm.
wonderful.
Oh, tell us what the book is. I know it's,
Born a Crime.
Born Crime. by
Oh,
Trevor-
you read it? Yeah, I love it.
Yes,
Especially the audio.
Yeah.
With him speaking.
Yeah.
I did the
Oh,
audio too.
yeah.
The audio was very
Yeah.
good.
I'll have to do that. the
Yeah.
audio.
I'm really curious what the Salem Reads team comes up with. Why did Sonia leave? We could be asking her, but what they come up with for activities and things that will be going on. And I, like with the last one, I may have to buy more art.
Well, if you have to, you have
Yeah, I
to,
know.
yeah. So, Born a Crime is about, I forget the guy's name, Trevor.
Trevor.
Yeah, so he was born,
South Africa.
in South Africa to a
Mixed parents.
mixed parentage, and so it was actually a crime for him to be born. And, I'm sure it's a very interesting story, which we will.
And funny,
And funny,
because he's a comedian.
that's true. Okay. Wouldn't it be great if we could get him to come?
Oh, yeah.
It would. Probably not. You never know. You never know.
Doing works many wonders.
All right, done with all the reports. On to discussion items. So the Salem Public Library is in the process of developing their new strategic plan for the next 5 years. And we have a steering committee, and Catherine and I are on it, and Catherine's gonna tell you a little more about it. Because she is our resident planner.
I was a land use planner, however.
But I'm planning it. So the strategic plan, the 5-year library strategic plan is one that the library does every 5 years. So now we're actually right in the middle of doing it. It's really exciting and we can input from today. But it's a plan that looks to the future and identifies the challenges that the library faces, but also opportunities to grow and change, and sort of broad goals and also more specific objectives to accomplish hopefully within that 5-year time. So it's really exciting. The library staff is involved. There's a consultant, a couple of consultants from the civil company that's shepherding us through this process, and they're doing a really good job. And a lot of public outreach. So the package that we've got has several pages that pertain to this strategic plan that we're doing right now. The timeline of it, we actually started it early last year, but because the previous librarian resigned, and also COVID, we had a pause for about 6 months. Some of the work was done last year. Quite a bit of the outreach was done last year, and then we started up again in May of this year. So the lab's role to date has been that, as Lois said, Lois and I are the 2 members representing the lab on the committee of about 15 people. So,
Right, well, I think we're about 8, I think 8 or 9.
oh,
Yeah,
okay, starting off with it.
maybe,
Including representatives of the other 2 library groups, Friends and Foundation, and also some team members and city council people, some library, a couple library staff people. Anyway, pretty well-rounded group of people, but there also was a lot of initial surveying of the community at large. It was done. There were 5 focus groups, and there were 11 specific interviews of people who were particularly knowledgeable about the library. So a lot of input went into a background report. You on your packet that you got, there's a heading strategic plan update, and there's a link there
that notes that meetings and agendas for meetings can be found on the library website. That, and that's the case, but in addition, all materials from that strategic planning process are up there. So there's a background report called situation assessment, there's a clarity retreat, and as each piece of the plan, is done on a draft basis, it'll be up there. So to read it to what you want to, become knowledgeable about that, involved in that, it is up there online. So the lab's role is through Lois and me to provide input, but we'd like to also continue to tonight. This is really your one opportunity since we're halfway through this plan to give us some ideas. I want to just briefly mention the major themes of this report so far. And the themes are really kind of the challenge areas for us. They're the areas that have been identified. One is that stakeholders want the Salem Public Library to center equity, diversity, and inclusion in all they do. Two, the Salem community is happy with the Salem Public Library and would like the library to maximize its impact and reach to as many people as possible. Three, Salem Public Library cannot fulfill its full value to the community due to resource constraints. I want to just make a note of that in particular because I gave you a table and you can see from the dollar figures there that we are dramatically underfunded compared to other peer libraries in the market.
It was amazing when I looked at it. I mean,
That's our
almost
number
3
one
out of 4
challenge.
residents are have a library card, and yeah, we're only $30 per capita. That's pretty
Well,
good.
that figure, that 71% library card figure is not right.
Oh, it's not.
So we're
Is it lower?
probably in the vicinity of the other.
Yeah, I think we're more around 30%,
Oh.
like 20%.
So it's okay. Wow.
And that's just it's part of the reason that is not kind of accurate information is, and we've talked about this at the steering meetings, is because they're getting all the information from the state library report, and how we report it may not be as accurate as like what they're counting is different, how we're counting it.
We think that they're looking at all the library card holders, not just for the city of Salem, but for a broader area. Our library also serves Kaiser and has no library. People who live within the urban growth boundary of Salem, Kaiser, and Turner and Amstel. So we think that they're counting those library card holders. So we'll figure out if that's actually the case. Anyway, the community wants the Salem Public Library to increase accessibility. That could be defined in many different ways, branch libraries, but also other types of accessibility. There's opportunity for Salem Public Library to engage more with the local community. And 6, strengthening and standardizing systems, process, policies, and procedures would improve employees' experience and Salem Public Library services. So what we're in the process of doing now as part of this group is kind of transforming each of these themes into a positive goal for the future. We're calling imperative. So the one, for example, that says Salem Public Library cannot fulfill its full value to the community resource constraints, that will end up saying something about increase the budget or research ways in which we could increase the budget. So, and then after those kind of broad goals that we're in the process or imperatives of calling are being defined, then we'll move on to more specific objectives that would actually we would actually move to measurable objectives that we would be looking to accomplish over the next 5 years. So this is I know you're completely no warning, but this is your opportunity to tell us what your vision for the future for the library is, and we can convey that in our meeting to the group. Also, if you have any questions for either Kim or Lois or me.
Could you explain to me the process once more? So I know we're in the middle of a 5-year process. Will the final report come back to the lab for review, or is this our kind of one time at the.
It'll
Water
come
Gap
back
Hall?
to the lab for review and we can, make recommendations to library staff, about whether we think we should do any tweaking done to it. And we're looking into now whether we would also be making a direct recommendation to council.
I guess that was my question.
Yeah,
Is
it's
library
not-
staff present that to council, or is this a duty of the LAB to provide that?
In our bylaws, it says we are advisory to council on rules and policies, but it's not completely clear yet what the end process.
What that process
what
looks
that
like.
process is gonna look like.
But it will come
Will
to
come to
lab, and as I understand it, we can kind of make request some changes, and also we can either recommend or not recommend it be passed by city council, as I understand it.
It's not clear. No, it's not.
The benefit of having Lois and Catherine on lab steering committee is that they have a voice in that steering process. So that's why, like, what you would like to see, you can, you come together and created wild ideas before. So how does that fall into this kind of idea of what we want for the next 5 years? What do we want library services to look like? What do they look like now? How can we make those improvements, right? Under these themes, which are, are, like Catherine said, are imperatives. This is what our overarching, what we want to achieve. How do we achieve those things?
And we'll have one more lab meeting. At least before,
I think so, yeah.
before this is finalized. So this isn't your last, opportunity to.
And lab,
I just wanted to, say that you can access it all online, but you can also access our meetings.
Yeah.
On YouTube, and there is an opportunity to provide public comment to the meeting by way of Zoom or YouTube, or I'm not sure what the mechanics of it, but anyway, this was sort of the moment, and so if you have thoughts later, you'll have opportunities to convey them to the
Yes, so
strategic planning committee.
at all of those meetings, we set aside some time at the end for public comment, in which we'll open that up. They're virtual meetings, but we'll open it up at the end for people to make public comment, and you're more than welcome to. You can't like participate in the meeting per se, but at the very end, you'll have that space to like voice your opinions or throw things out there. Yeah.
Excuse me, I'd just like to reiterate the number of card holders in Salem who, is only 20 to 30%. Is that correct? Is that what you
When
said?
we talk about card holders, we're talking about active card holders, which is a different concept. That means you've used your library card within the last year. So if you have a library card, but you have not used it, you may still be in our system because Salem Public Library cards do not expire. So when we run that report, it looks like we have, patrons that they may have a card or may have had a card, but they may have also moved out of the area. So the number that resonates more with us is the people that are using the library actively. So that is one of our performance measures for the city as well. We have a performance measure set up for the city for our scorecard for the library. And one of those numbers is active card holders that, because we really want people to be using the library, and part of that is having relevant services. So we'll know if our services are relevant if people are actively using the library.
Most of everybody's benefit, most of the data in the report is from the state library.
Yes.
So do we know if other libraries in Oregon have other ways of counting library cards?
So a lot of times, and I don't know, I can't speak to Oregon per se because I'm kind of relatively newly back in Oregon. But for us, at other libraries I've worked at, you had to renew your card regardless of if every year. And so, if you didn't renew your card, it would expire. So it was very easy to count active card holders, right?
So maybe those numbers aren't
Aren't real. And some libraries may have 3 years until they expire, or 5 years until they expire. Or you may have temporary cards that expire within 30 days. So there's a lot of different types of cards, and libraries work different ways. I haven't looked into how, like, per se, Eugene or Beaverton or those libraries, like, when do their library cards expire? When do you have to renew it? What do you consider active card holders? All of that.
So let's take a couple minutes to, like vision, like what? I mean, if funding wasn't a problem, which it is, but if it wasn't, what would you want our library to look like?
I would like to see more people using the library. 20 to 30% active use just doesn't seem. I know everywhere I go, I ask, do you use the library? Are you excited about the library? And people seem to be not very knowledgeable, not knowledgeable at all about, no, I didn't know. Yeah, I know there's a library. We did that story time as a kid, and they don't have an idea. How would we market the library to this vast population?
So better marketing maybe to the public about what we do.
I think so.
My vision would be something like, the library being seen as a place that is not just unto itself, so to speak, but a place where anybody could come, or the library goes out like this micro program, and really not only, like Mel said, about being about books and stuff, but like really could improve the quality of life in Salem. Like if the library could be seen as that, like it's not just about coming to a building, but the marketing would be like this can help improve a lot of people's lives. That's just mine.
I want to ask Kim a quick question. I'm sorry.
Go to it, go ahead.
Were there some programs that the library was putting on in the community where they were taking out some of the dancers and?
Yes, we
And-
do that during summer. We did that this summer, and we've done that all the summers without before COVID, when there was no COVID. So we were often out in the community. Again, this is where, so we do a lot of outreach. We had a program where we went to, before COVID, we were going to all the first grade classes in Salem Kaiser area and getting kids library cards. I think that there are a lot of things that we do that the community doesn't see. So that piecing that what we do with what we're showing people what we're doing is very important. And it's not enough just to, do a one-time, here's a library card. We need to find a way to sustain that participation in library programming. And part of that is this, this need for branches in areas so that we can have actual neighborhood libraries that people can walk to and they feel it's part of their neighborhood. That's something that is definitely missing from Salem. And that would also give you more visibility, right? But there are barriers to that too. So so part of this, getting this vehicle through this ARPA grant will allow us to go out into the community in a way and show up at places that we haven't been able to show up at all the time and get people library cards, teach them about library services. But again, if you have no way to get to this branch, it's really hard to sustain that library use, right?
I'm glad you brought that up, Tim, because I know a lot of outreach, like bookmobile and things like that, are associated with kids, but there's seniors as well who use those services. I come from a background with managing assisted living buildings and memory care as well as Meals on Wheels, and there's a huge need for that. And I know there are some programs already that exist. I know there's some outreach. I know residents in this living can sign up and books are brought for them. And I think that's great, but not enough people know about that.
So we do, yeah, we have it was Operation Bookshelf, and we have a librarian dedicated to that program. And so she works with, senior living facilities to bring pop-up libraries to their locations. And she's getting out and doing more of that outreach. But again, you have one person serving, like running that program. We're very fortunate. We have the assistants lead help us with that. They're the ones that actually get out there and deliver the books a lot of times. And so we are looking at strategic partnerships, but again, we need more of that, right? Yeah.
Another really cool thing about is seeing the library and meet people where they're at. I don't know who in the library did it, but the Animal Crossing library, do you know about that?
Yeah.
That was amazing. What a cool way to connect with kids, especially, and adults too. I just thought that was fantastic. I mean, it was a library in this video game where you can go and get recipes and tools to make you better in the game, and it was just a cool way to create a library virtually in this new world and environment. I thought that was a really good idea.
Yeah, that was great. That was, I think that was Dan that did that, but
Didn't we have something at Center 50 Plus where we had some?
we had a kiosk there at one time that I think, and this is what I've heard, so I'm not, maybe.
It didn't work.
Okay.
No, when I worked for Meals on Wheels, our office was in Center 50 Plus.
Mhm.
When I saw it, I was like, oh, this is fantastic. But it was always out of order. There was always
Okay.
a sign over the top and it was always out of order. And a few times when it was working, I was like, I'm gonna see how this works and see how convenient it is. And it wouldn't match up with transfer. It was just, it didn't work.
So
It's a great idea.
one thing we're working on is we're purchasing library lockers. We're gonna have them at Maine, and we're looking for another place to put them. We're asking Center 50 Plus if they would want to host some library lockers. So, because we think that would be they work like Amazon lockers. You put your items on hold, you pick them up, it tells you when they're ready, and you pick them up from the locker, and it checks it out to you automatically. So you don't have to, go to the library to get your books. You can also return them there. We think that might be a good partnership.
Did you ask anyone about it?
I have.
You have.
You can ask.
Oh, I don't work there anymore.
Yes, yeah.
Well, that would be kind of quick, because a lot of people go to Center 50 Plus for the lunch meal, the meal.
So the lunch meal is not happening right now because of COVID.
Yeah, but it will, eventually.
Let's hope so.
Well, they still give like a sack lunch.
Curbside, yes, they do that at Center 50 Plus. It's still working this year. They do it at Center 50 Plus and they do it at Southside.
So if we had a lot of people use that and get their lunch there, and so that would be kind of neat.
Yeah, Center 50 Plus was giving about 150 lunches a day.
Yeah, which that's pretty good.
That is a lot of people. And then South Salem was doing about 50.
So I would say if money is no object, right?
Yeah.
So
We can dream big.
the three things I would say, one is that I would like to envision that every student K through 12 has a library. That they can either use their ID, or that it's a partnership between the school district and the library, that every student has a library card. Yeah, that way that builds a relationship between the student and their families and the library. That would be a nice thing to do. But also in hearing the conversation, I think outreach goes two ways. So I think going out into the community, providing resources to targeted groups is great. I think also providing a space here for nonprofits, or people that come to the library, because you have a captive audience that comes here that might need resources, and providing space and opportunity for that, I think is, is critical. And I think the third thing is, it's the M word, money, and that is looking at finding some stable funding source for the library.
Well, we're looking.
Whether a sales tax or some kind of dedicated amount of money.
Good luck with the sales.
We're still talking big. I'm just saying,
Well, there is talk about a library district.
or library,
Yeah,
library
yeah.
district. Yeah,
Yeah.
library, I mean, there's lots of different ways to do it, but we're talking big, but,
We got it. In my opinion, that's something we really have to do.
So for those who aren't familiar, the city pays for about 15% of the library's annual budget, and most of the rest of it comes from CCRLS, which is our regional library system, which has 18 libraries.
So the city pays gives us $5 million for the library budget, and we get about, from our consortium, we get about, I mean, it depends because we were closed for COVID, and part of it depends on library use, but it's around, I think it's gonna go back up to about 600 and some $1,000. Not this year, but next year, because we're still relying on, our funding this year is based on last year. So,
The vote comes from the city, we don't have a district. And,
is it GF funds, general funds?
Mhm.
It's not good.
And the district unfortunately has been voted down twice, but maybe not.
You're right.
Any other thoughts? What do you want? What do you want from the library? Anybody?
My third thing is,
Oh, yeah.
sorry, is looking at, no option, right? Is looking at having a social worker here. For
Yeah.
people that
Wraparound services.
wraparound services.
Okay.
Yep. A through C, people needing services, can know there's a resource here.
Nice. I think that's kind of a trend in a lot of libraries.
It is.
It's controversial, but it's.
Well, the library now is one of the few places left in the community where you can actually come in and not have to like buy anything or a cup of coffee or anything. And I think that's important. We need to be a place for anybody that wants to come.
Well, in this day and age, to have a place that brings people together, that's what people are, is just is such a needed thing,
Well, and a safe, I really, the other thing I think it's about is a safe place where anybody, all the, race, creed, religion, all that, anybody can come here and feel safe. And, I think that's
Any other ideas?
I just kind of like to add into this a little bit. And obviously, I'm missing a lot of prior information as to how the meetings have gone and
Yeah.
whatnot. But like my brain immediately would look at what are more actively used libraries doing that we are not, and is there any research we need to do or something to look into that?
Yeah.
To see what's going on in the supposed competition. And I also I guess cash is always a big issue as to what we're capable of doing and the fact that we have to do it. But coming from bigger university libraries, the wealth of information is all here. It's just how do we showcase that correctly, or are we being too broad, or should we be more niche or something? An example of something very random is a couple of years ago. I was looking for, is there such a thing as an Oregon cuisine? And there was a ton of work done in the mid-90s, surprisingly, when Portland had its first gastronomic boom up there, and a lot of those books were housed here, and I came here to look for that. But those type of niche thinking ideas can probably be done as some type of exhibit or something along that line of thinking to get people interested to come in to research what I'm looking to.
Oh, I like that.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
So
This is what we want.
Yeah. I know that there's been some events locally in town organized by people, like fix-it fairs, or,
Yeah.
you know, the library is a place where you come to get knowledge about something and resources. And so I think that goes, you know, there's so much in books, but there's more to that in just our community, learning how to, you know, have a pair of paints or sew a patch on something, or, you know, fix something that's broken. You know, those kind of things are just like, I know we have YouTube videos now that you can do, but having somebody sit across from you with the right tools to show you how to do it is just incredibly invaluable. And it's empowering. And I think that, if we kind of expand the definition of the knowledge that you get in the library to more practical, lifelong, resiliency techniques, I think that would be great too, just like having a social worker in here talking about background services.
Mhm.
And just kind of, you know, some people. I just really like the mix of pairing. And then pair that with the library and things where you can check out the tools for to fix them because you know how to do it. It's just, I think, tons of work to do.
Maker stations are a big trend with libraries.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
There is a fix-it fair this Saturday at the
Inglewood,
Inglewood,
yep. I have friends who are,
forest thing,
yeah,
forest fair, whatever. it's
that's
called.
what made me think of it. So I have friends who are organizing that and working at it. And so I was like,
I want to go just to see like what is there.
really
Yes.
cool.
Yeah, me too.
Well, these are some great ideas, and a number of them have been reflected by the committee, especially the outreach ones. Get out there, you know, contact people, create partnerships, let the public know about services and resources we have here. A few of them are more specific, and we can take that to the.
Thank you, everybody. Great. Anything else? Anything else come up? Okay. Action items, those are always fun. These are things that we actually vote on. Trust and agency accounts. I'm gonna ask Kim about that because I didn't get it.
So we did this on our last fiscal year meeting. We have trust and agency accounts that we have been that are not really, there's a lab resolution from the 1970s that says that we have to get lab approval for all of these trust and agency accounts, which some of them are not true. They're just the way we put money in these accounts for our grants and stuff, or the foundations or the friends, and that's how we can process the payments through the city. So what we want to do is just, until we get the resolution written, we just want lab to approve us spending out all the accounts except for the lab specific account. And we did this last fiscal year. We need to do it this fiscal year until we get that resolution. So that's what I would like people to vote on.
So once we get the resolution through, I mean, not us, but once it goes through city council, we won't have to keep.
You won't have to keep. doing
All right,
this.
so I need a motion about this.
I moved to,
I think Catherine knows it.
please go ahead. Please
I
go ahead.
was gonna ask, same wording?
Yep.
Okay, let's just do the same word. Okay, so I moved the lab grant permission to library management to spend from the library gift accounts without lab approval, accepting lab controlled funds in cost center 339.2800, which may only be spent with lab approval. That's exactly what you wrote.
For fiscal year 22-23.
Fiscal year 22-23.
Okay.
I second.
Thanks, Bertha. Okay, Gretchen has a second. Any questions about this?
Just a clarification, some of these estates and gifts have no strings to them that require us to.
They don't have any lab strings. The tricky part is they're very, very specific.
But no labs.
No lab strings.
Okay, all in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed, say no. Okay, unanimous. The second item is the lab meeting location schedule. So because of COVID, we've been meeting on Zoom. But now, as we're all here, there is the possibility that we could meet in person. So, the options, as I understand it, are, we could decide, we're gonna decide this tonight. We can have all our meetings in person. We can have all our meetings on Zoom. Or we have been given permission to do sort of a hybrid and have, 3 meetings a year in person and the rest maybe in Zoom.
Yeah, so hybrid, not meaning.
Not hybrid, okay, go
Yeah.
ahead, no, go ahead.
Every 4 months in person and then 3 months long is one,
Yeah.
one option.
So the hybrid is not in the sense that we all know hybrid as we're here and some people are there. We
Yeah.
either have to all be in person or all be on Zoom. Yeah.
Right.
Well, what is the reason for not allowing the traditional hybrid model?
It's because, the city is not able to do that with city council, so all of their boards and commissions has to choose a certain way to do that, and because they're remodeling city council, so it won't always be that way, but once they get council chambers available, so right now, we want to keep consistency with the way people are doing meetings, so mostly the city council is going to continue to do all Zoom meetings. And so the provision to do in person was because a lot of the boards wanted to have that option. And so when they wrote the policy, they added that if we got department approval, we could have some in person.
Yeah, it's the traditional hybrid model where some are here and some are there. Really is it's an accessibility issue for some and having that option, but. it's
Yeah.
clarification.
I'd like to comment too, to Mel's comment that I think that could be an important thing for those who would like to serve on boards, but are not able to come in person.
Well, it's a quorum issue too. I mean, if for whatever reason, somebody's not able to be here and can't make it, or, you know, if they get exposed to COVID. Right.
And get childcare.
Yeah, I think Zoom, it makes it really easy for people. You know, they could have, they could be alter abled or they, you know, need childcare or whatever.
But in person also has advantages.
That's what I was just gonna
Team
say.
build, you can pick somebody under the table if they're saying something wrong. You can pass out
There is no
materials.
saying something like that.
Pass out materials that you might have gotten from some other libraries, so that's why we were thinking maybe a mix of Zoom and in person.
And the current policy will probably be adjusted as we get more, we get the tools we need to do hybrids for all boards and
Takes a lot of
commissions.
technology
Mhm.
to do that.
Also, we had some, new members who actually kind of dropped out because they didn't feel connected. They had never met in person.
Yeah.
And there is something nice about in person, you can talk before, you can talk afterwards, and, you know, you can have snacks, always have snacks. So I'm just gonna kind of show where I'm leaning is to do like 3 in person and the rest on Zoom. Because then you can have that camaraderie and like actually, you know, maybe even have a connection with somebody like Brenda.
Also, so you know, there's no meeting in July or December.
Right.
So there are two months. Maybe no. So there'd be 3 in person and 7 on Zoom.
Or we could do all in person.
And 7 is 10 and 2, we don't meet.
Too, we don't know.
That's right.
So,
We're folks in the library to check out next.
Yeah, that was,
They do the same thing all the time.
so what do you think about those 3 options?
well, we heard some.
Or 4?
I think that if you had a mix, having meetings on Zoom, in the winter months might allow more people to be able to access if they came.
For me, in the summer, it's easier to attend the Zoom because I have kids and there's all these activities and things going on and it's, yeah. And for working volunteers too. I get up work at 5 and I live just up by the parkway, but it's still 5 o'clock traffic to get there. It takes a while. I was late to see today, so it puts a lot of stress on time. So our spring and fall better times. There's challenges all the times.
I would agree with that general rundown there is like via that schedule, I kind of think on the flip side of when do I travel the most, be summer and holidays.
Well,
Well, personally, I love the Zoom, but then I realized when I see these guys for the first time, I haven't seen you for 2 years in person. And then when I ran into her at the art gallery, it was like, oh, this huge thrill. You know, you're alive, you're
I mean,
real.
this has been a great meeting today. It's been really lively and I don't know, it just feels more lively in person. I'd like some number.
I agree with that.
I agree with that because I just think it's important. What do you think, David?
You know, I work with some on Zoom all the time, so it's like being on Zoom less is great. But at the same time, I think it makes it more flexible to have it split. And it may be that those 3 or 4 meetings that we have in person are more targeted because we're all over the public, so we can have gives an opportunity for special presentations or different groups that want to present to us or things like that. But maybe split it, but I could see, as Joe was saying, that maybe doing something in the fall and the winter, maybe in person and during the winter months more on Zoom.
Are there certain months that you're thinking about, like in person?
I was thinking about like every quarter, just because that way there would be sort of a, like 3 months Zoom and then a person, 3 months.
We're thinking January, May, September. Yeah. Would be 4 months, each one 4 months apart. Those Januaries. Winter, so.
How often do we get public comment? Is that, I mean, is that an issue? I mean, if we do it every other,
What's going on?
Yeah. We don't usually, we welcome the public to come anytime to our meetings on Zoom or in person. We usually don't have anyone.
I just don't want somebody to come to this meeting with the expectation that we'd be here and
Yeah.
it's an empty room, so.
So that will all be posted, the schedule will be posted on the website too, so.
And it would have to be because that's part of what we have to do as a city board.
So do you want 3 in-person meetings or just 2 in-person meetings?
At least 3.
I like 3.
3 in-person meetings. Okay, it sounds like January might be good.
Because of what?
Winter.
Too winter, too cold.
Oh, let's see. What did we have the 3? We had that, what?
I like January, May, and September.
January was nice this month. It was March, wasn't it, when we got snow? I'm just kidding.
It was March. Well, January and September avoids Christmas. I mean, it avoids summer entirely.
Yeah, there you go.
And just December's off anyway. July's off.
And May is just a nice month. Well, let's
We're
have.
all in good moods then.
We're all in May. Nothing, it's not too hot, not too cold.
We could also
Flowers
change this
are out.
if we didn't like it after a year.
That's true. Oh, we can even amend it as it goes along. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
that's
not-
right.
We're a flexible board.
We wanted to promote.
Somebody do a motion.
I move that we meet. It's obviously not such a issue. We meet, starting next, we meet on Zoom for the remainder of this year, except for December. And that we meet in person January, May, and September of next year. And otherwise.
Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Mel. You're welcome. Any other,
I'm sorry, would you repeat the months, January?
January, May, and September.
Thank you.
So all of that.
and that's okay with the library, I mean, we can get this, et cetera, okay. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, yay, did it. Okay, miscellaneous board items. I just wanted to give a heads up that, our next meeting, which will be on Zoom, we have election. So we will elect a chair, a vice chair, and a liaison to the Salem Library Foundation. So be thinking about that. I am not going to run again for chair, so. So put that in your head. Also, say what you were going to say about the notebook or something.
Yeah, so there's other materials aside from the strategic plan that you will want to have access to. Yeah, like a full copy of the bylaws, also public meeting law that we're required to abide by, and also, for example, the criteria we use for giving our funds away. We came up with, and various papers we're gonna have put online. It's the easiest way to do it. We've talked about this once before, so you don't have to put together paper notebooks anymore. We work together and it's something on my own case. It's not that much stuff. It's only half as much as the last time. So yeah, so we'll hopefully get that done. It's no weeks, and that's just reference material. You can just keep it on, put it online, or you can put it in the note or whatever you want to.
Yeah, so so here's my notebook that I got like 5 years ago. But now it can be all online, so we're going digital or whatever the word is. Is it digital?
Digital.
Yeah, okay.
Electronic.
Online, there was something else I was gonna say, but I can't remember now what it was. Oh, do we have to have some kind of a orientation with Michelle about what?
Robert schools.
No, about like what we can and cannot say
Yeah.
and all that kind
Yep,
of
we'll
stuff.
schedule that for, do you want to do that next time?
Sure.
Or wait a minute. We'll still have a strategic plan update to give people. But I don't know.
We can do it in, we can talk about it and decide.
Okay,
Because we want to check with her and make sure she's available.
okay.
Yeah.
But you'll get, Michelle is our lawyer from the city that kind of tells us what we can and cannot do, and, conflict of interest and all that kind of stuff. So you'll get that someday. All right, anything else for the good of the library? All right. Okay, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See you in September.